Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first all-volunteer EcoWeb webinar. We'll be starting the meeting in just a moment, so just hang tight and we will get started real soon. I'm going to give 1 minute for other people to join us. All right, let's get started with our meeting. So welcome again, everyone, to the first EcoWeb all-volunteer meeting, uniting volunteers from around the world. Thanks for being with us. We are very excited to have you here. We just want to let you know that this meeting is being recorded and transcribed automatically, and we will be sending out that recording to all participants after the meeting. We'll also post it on our YouTube channel so you can share it widely. So for those of you who are new to EcoWeb, our mission is promoting healthy ecosystems, the sustainable use of natural resources, and community resilience to ecological change through international collaboration and volunteer service. We have a vision for a world that is where ecologically vulnerable communities worldwide are equipped to conserve, manage, and restore ecosystems to ensure environmental, social, and economic sustainability. Now, will be joining us several members of the EcoWeb leadership team, including from our board of directors. One moment. There we go. The EcoWeb Expert Network comprises a multinational cadre of biologists, foresters, ecologists, water resource engineers, hydrologists, planners, GIS professionals, and facilitators, negotiators with experience in natural resource research and management. We focus on developing and transitional countries where natural resources are depleted and ecological processes are disrupted to the point that human welfare is adversely affected. So during the presentation, all participants are in listen-only mode. You are welcome to type any questions into the questions box, which can be found on the upper corner of your screen. And we'll be monitoring incoming questions during our live Q&A session at the end of the meeting. So without further ado, I'd like to present you to our first two speakers. We have Stuart Buchanan. Stu Buchanan is a certified wildlife biologist and recently retired partner in a global environmental consulting business. He earned degrees in forestry and wildlife management from Paul Smith College and the University of Maine, and spent the first half of his career as a field biologist with the timber industry in Maine, the U.S. Peace Corps in the Central African Republic, the U.S. Forest Service, and New Mexico. Stu has worked for decades in his career prioritizing fish, wildlife, and public land planning and management. Prior to his retirement, he served as COO of a Minnesota-based environmental consulting firm that specialized in large energy projects. Stu is currently the president of Ecologists Without Borders. And now I'll also introduce myself, our moderator for the event. I am the co-vice president of Ecologists Without Borders. I have a career in aquatic science, fisheries management, and I am currently doing a master's as part of the Erasmus Mundus program in ACES Star Aquaculture, Environment, and Society. where I am located now in Norway doing my internship. I've volunteered with Ecologists Without Borders for over 8 years and served in a variety of positions, including as project committee chair, a project creator for the Peruvian Scallops project, and a lot more. And I am very pleased to be joining my colleagues here to discuss their latest work and how they have been leading the way for all of the big changes going on at Ecologists Without Borders. It's been a hugely active time, and we are so grateful to have all of your support and participation. So now Stu is going to join us, and then I'll introduce our other speakers later, or they'll be introducing themselves. And Stu, how you doing? Can you hear me?
I can hear you well. Thank you, Trevor.
Uh, all right, great. Stu, you have been doing so much work for us. You help manage the Nairobi Reservoir Project as well as leading this organization. And I just have some questions for you that we can discuss, and we can, dive into some of these answers, and people might have questions for us later about these things. So, in the past several months, Ecologists Without Borders has finished a 5-year strategic planning process, written our 2023 annual report, welcomed dozens of more new volunteers, and received support from generous funders like the Paul M. Angel Family Foundation. As president of the board, what has it been like steering the organization through this major growth process?
Well, first of all, this is a great forum, and thanks for putting this together, Trevor. We can't do enough to reach out and communicate with our dedicated volunteers, and I appreciate that you've made this happen here for us. In regards to your question, honestly, on most days I'm trying to keep up with all the work that everybody else is doing. It's just remarkable, and I'm constantly in awe of the progress that we're making, of the excitement that I see amongst our board members and our dedicated volunteers. And it's been a long road to get to this point. I don't want people to get the idea that all of a sudden, because of our current leadership, that we're making progress. This has been something that's been developing through the past several years, and certainly a lot of the credit goes to my predecessor, Danielle and Cleve and others. So, it's exciting, is, I guess, to put it in a nutshell here. It's exciting to see that the vision that our founders had is really coming into focus now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. I've seen that support that we've gotten from Danielle and Cleve and so many other people, people who have, sacrificed a lot of their time and contribute a lot of their energy to making this organization happen. And I guess we're here now with some of our volunteers, and hopefully more of the community is going to see this conversation and see that the organization is working together to try and continually improve and support each other in doing this whole enterprise. So I guess I wanted to ask you, what are you excited for coming up for EcoWeb in this year, and like what is the vision for EcoWeb going forward beyond, of course, the vision that I shared earlier? That's part of our message.
Yeah. So thanks again to some really careful management of our budget over the past few years. We're in a position now where we have been able to hire a couple of really outstanding contractors to help us set the stage for our growth and our future, really. And so that uh, that careful management of our budget, and also a grant that we received late last year from the Angle Foundation, have allowed us to hire a development director, Becky Mustin, who's here with us today, and you'll hear from in a little bit. and also um, uh, Julie Badowski, who's leading us through our strategic planning effort, which is critical to our ability to lay out our future and to plan it in a way that allows us to actually get there. So those are our big efforts that we're focused on for this year, and particularly now we're well underway, but the second half of the year will see us get through both the development of our fundraising program and also the completion or implementation phase of our strategic planning, which has been in the works here for over a year now.
Yeah, you mentioned the strategic planning. I've been a part of that. I know Danielle and a lot of the other EcoWeb leadership has been a big part of that. It's something we've actually been talking about for years and kind of workshopping iterations over. I'm just gonna bring up, skipping ahead, one of the key takeaways from our strategic plan, these pillars, goals, and key activities that people, should really take the chance to look at on their own later, which is it's available on our website. But I wanted to hear from you, like, what are the key points on our strategic plan that you're working on? Can you tell us a little bit more about that plan and how volunteers will be assisting in the process?
Sure. So as you can see from the slide that Trevor has pulled up here, the financial sustainability, organizational effectiveness, volunteers and partnerships, and our program development. I mean, those are the keys that we're trying to focus on, but the one thread that runs through certainly the last three is the use of our volunteer workforce. And we're going to be in a position, hopefully, in a year or two or three, as it rolls out here, to hire some paid positions, some of the key positions that we're going to need to, such as executive director, a development director, a volunteer coordinator, a project coordinator. Those positions for the long term, we want to be in a position to be able to, to pay someone so that we can have the continuity that we'll need to make sure that our other our other goals and objectives are met. But the backbone and the heart and soul of our organization is going to continue to be our volunteer workforce. And that is how this organization is set up. It's to match volunteers up with communities in need, and that is not going to change. So, that's when we go through our strategic planning, when we address our goals and develop measurable objectives, it's with that in mind that we need to continue to attract and support and deploy, qualified, dedicated volunteers, and that need is always going to be there, and that is what sets us apart from some other organizations, is our ability to attract outstanding volunteers and to match them up with our needs.
Yeah, if I may, I think the volunteers are out there. Just so many people who are on fire about doing this kind of work and about service and contributing some of their time, um, even though no one is gonna pay them to do it, is just amazing. And I think our success as an organization has been that we've been able to tap into that. But what we're doing now in this strategic plan, I think, is we're kind of refining avenues to channel that fundamental enthusiasm that's out there for contributing to fixing so many of the problems in our world and for helping supporting other communities in doing that. And that brings me to talking about your work with ETCO, Empower the Community in Kibera in Nairobi, Kenya. I was hoping you could just talk a little bit about that project and tell us what's been going on and how EcoWeb volunteers have been supporting that.
Sure. So one of the projects that we're we're working on right now is in the outskirts of Nairobi. It's an unmanaged settlement called Kibera, and it's been also referenced as one of the biggest unsettled communities or unplanned communities in all of Africa. There are literally, 500,000 or more people living and in the community and in an area that once was a pristine kind of a setting with a large reservoir that served as a water source for Nairobi and also as a recreation area for some of the residents of Nairobi. And that has changed drastically as this community has evolved, and mostly because they don't have the services that are typically afforded planned communities. And the most evident example of that is the accumulation of solid waste that has occurred as a result of people not having access to the kind of disposal, collection and disposal systems that we're used to. So during high water events, solid waste comes down the tributaries into the reservoir, creating not only an unsightly mess, but a health hazard for the people that live there. We have partnered with a local not-for-profit, but a community-based organization, an organization that lives within the community there at Kibera, and we're providing support for them in the way of project management, helping them to organize the people in the community to help themselves, but also to find funding to make some things happen here. And then one of the big successes for us here is having partnered also with power engineers here in the United States, who have a program like a lot of large corporations do, where they allow their employees to contribute to projects that they want to make a difference in. And being an organization of engineers, their expertise is especially useful in helping us to try to figure out what kind of designs we might apply to this issue of collecting waste and just getting it disposed of. So thanks to Power Engineers and their participation as a project partner here, we've been able to make fairly good progress in the last 6 months.
Yeah, I've been able to listen in on some of those conversations with power engineers and help shepherd that along. And that has just been so gratifying to see this company like really get involved in a meaningful way that can directly impact the standard of living on the ground in years to come, and work with Empower the Community and us to create this plan for hopefully tackling some of the waste management in the waters there. You are going to be going down to Nairobi pretty soon, I believe.
So our power engineers team is traveling to Nairobi for a site visit so that they can do some of their design work and collect the information they'll need to finalize a demonstration project there. Cleve will actually be representing EcoWeb
That's
on
right.
that trip. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Um, well, I was going to ask you to describe a little bit the reality of just people down there and the waste management challenges. I mean, we can see on the photos, and I know you haven't been there, but you've spoken so much with Collins, who is the project manager there, who's working there. And can you just tell us a little bit about what it's like to live in these conditions?
Well, I mean, it's very difficult to put it mildly, and the past few months have been especially challenging for the residents of Kibera. They've had to deal with some incredible flood events that have taken people's homes out. Um, and as a direct result, most people feel of the larger issue of global warming that's occurring all over our world here. And then most recently, they had a fire that went through the part of the uh, the Kibera where we're focusing our efforts, and it luckily didn't affect Collins and his team, but it did affect Collins's parents, as I'm led to understand. Anyway,
Mhm.
it's their day-to-day life is a challenge no matter what's going on, but they also have had to deal with some major events here recently.
Yeah, there's been floods, of course, water, sanitation, and then just the ecological damage to that land. We're gonna wrap up this conversation, but I just want people to know that we're working on this project. If you want to get involved, um, we have our page on the website where you can donate to the project. Just contributing a little bit of money could help with the waste cleanup, could help support the community plans to build this and recycle the waste and build the system to manage that. And furthermore, if you're interested in empower the community, go and check out their website, see what they're doing of other projects beyond what that we're working on with EcoWeb, and they are really an incredible organization and one to really keep an eye on. So, Stu, it's been great talking with you. Thank you so much for your leadership and EcoWeb, for sharing a little bit with us. I just wanted to ask if you want to leave us with any last message to the volunteers.
Uh, just this, Trevor, a big thank you for all that our volunteer workforce does. I only see a little bit of it, and again, I'm just so impressed with the dedication and the expertise that our volunteers bring, and again, thanks to you, Trevor, for setting this up so that we can communicate directly with our volunteers.
Much appreciated, Stu. And Stu's gonna be here with us later for the questions. So if anyone has a question for Stu, we're gonna get there. Okay, so now we're going to continue. Our executive director Cleve couldn't be with us, but I wanted to ask Danielle, who was president of EcoWeb last year and who's currently our treasurer, to maybe just give a brief introduction. We're gonna have three more speakers, including Danielle, 5 to 10 minute conversations looking at specific areas that EcoWeb is working on and trying to give you all a better sense of what we're doing in the organization and ways you can get involved. So Danielle, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Trevor. Thanks, everyone, for being here. It's nice to be able to communicate directly with our volunteers. You're so important to everything we do. So I'm glad Trevor set this up so we can have a chat. It's great. So my background is in marine fisheries, but I have worked in environmental consulting for the past 18 ish years, mostly focused on environmental impact assessment and risk assessment for offshore infrastructure. So that's what I've done with my day job, and also have been heavily involved in Ecologists Without Borders for the past 6 years or so, serving in various leadership positions within the organization and within the committees. As Trevor mentioned, I'm the immediate past president, Stu's predecessor, and have seen a lot of changes within the organization during my time here. I'm currently on the board of directors and the board treasurer.
Yes, you do so much. Danielle, you mentioned you've seen a lot of changes. Do you think I've been with you through those changes? But I think you do a really good job talking about it. Could you just maybe, to the best of your ability, I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but just walk us through in a couple minutes, like how has EcoWeb changed in the past several years? What have you seen?
Sure. So we've been around for 13 years, which is quite a long time, really, for an organization like ours to not have staff and be able to, function for that length of time. But we were originally at the beginning a very small organization. It was a small board of directors, a handful of volunteers, a couple of projects, and we operated that way for several years. And it was around 2017, 2019 when we started to see this really tremendous increase in demand, both from people looking for an opportunity to serve, looking for an opportunity to volunteer and do something good in the world, as well as from other organizations, in-country partners looking for support with projects. So we had to really turn inward for several years there and start to build the policies and the structure and everything, the foundation that we needed upon which we could grow. And so that's really been the focus of the past several years, and especially during the pandemic when we couldn't do a lot in the field. We did a lot of writing policies, as many people on this phone call know. Not the most exciting work all of the time, but it was really necessary and important, and has now gotten us to a place where we are really well positioned to take the next step, to hire our first core staff members, and to really be able to have a much larger impact. Being an all-volunteer organization is both our greatest challenge and our greatest weakness, because we're 100% passion powered, which is really a powerful thing, right? To have us function completely on the passion of other people. But now that we've grown so much and there is such tremendous demand, it's hard to operate that way, because volunteers are our lifeblood, but everyone has other jobs and other commitments. So it makes it hard to run an international NGO. So taking this next step is really important. And, we're really grateful to everyone who's been involved up to this point, whether it's been just for a couple of months or several years, have really contributed a lot. And we've been able to accomplish an amazing amount with volunteer service.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. I have one last question before we go, and we have to move to our next speaker, but I was hoping you could tell the volunteers some advice for how to volunteer with Ecologists Without Borders. Like, what would you say as your advice to our volunteer community?
Sure. So I think we really need people that are self-starters and will take the initiative, because we have so much going on and we all wear so many different hats in the organization that it makes it difficult to, or we forget about, handing out jobs and things like that, or asking for help with things. So it's really helpful when someone comes in as a volunteer and says, these are my skills, or these are the kind of things that I would like to help with, where can I help? Or, I see you might need this. That's something I could do. Can I take that on? And, 100% of the time we will say yes, because we're very happy to have that assistance. But it's difficult with a remote organization to really sort of keep everyone connected and, oversee work. So people that are, really self-motivated and able to work remotely really do well in our organization. And there's so much opportunity to gain experience. That's the other thing. We want you to get something out of being a volunteer. And there's so much going on at every level of the organization that you can gain experience in a lot of different things. So I encourage you to reach out, send one of us an email. We're always happy to get on the phone and chat about ways that you could get involved with the organization and help find a place for you.
Yeah,
There's a place for you here.
definitely. The self-starter that you said is perfect way to describe it. And if you're someone who can send someone reminders about doing things to us, because we are overwhelmed, I would say, constantly overwhelmed with the work. But those people who have, gotten reminded me sometimes multiple times, like, hey, you talked about doing this, like, how can I do that? Are you going to send me those files? And it's like, that is just such a godsend for me personally. I don't know about you, but I feel like those are the volunteers who really have done a lot of great work for us. So thank you, Danielle. And
Yeah, thank you.
I am really excited to see what's coming for us in the next couple months. Okay, I am now going to introduce a friend of mine, Lindy Gardner, who's one of our new Secretariat members. And Secretariat is a kind of new position for EcoWeb that we're trying out. We just have recruited several very talented ecologists, activists, project manager type people, and Lindy is one of them who's been working closely with me. And we just met virtually several months ago through our interview process, and already she's been helping us in big, important ways. So I'm going to introduce Lindy. Lindy Gardner is a nonprofit program director with a bachelor's degree in ecology and evolutionary biology and a certificate in community leadership from the University of Colorado Boulder. With her professional and volunteering roles, she is committed to social and environmental justice, anti-racism, and ecological sustainability through collective community action. And she joined EcoWeb as our secretariat, as I mentioned, in February 2024, and has been enjoying working with us. Lindy now has lived in the Seattle area for about 10 years and can usually be found outside learning to identify native flora and fauna, appreciating the natural beauty of the Pacific Northwest. I love your description. I also love being out in the nature Pacific Northwest, where I'm also from. Lindy, are you there?
I am. Yeah. Thank you, Trevor.
Awesome. So good to have you with us. Quick question. Why did you do all this? Why are you volunteering with the Colleges Without Borders in the first place and not out identifying more native flora and fauna?
Such a great question. Well, I was really excited to learn about EcoWeb and see that we're doing this incredible work of supporting community-driven ecological projects all around the world. That resonated with me as soon as I found out about it, because I believe that's one of the most important ways that change happens, through passionate individuals on the ground who understand their communities better than anyone, taking ownership over that, over protecting and improving their local communities. So I have nearly 10 years of experience working in nonprofits. And then, as you mentioned, my education is in ecology and evolutionary biology. So I saw this exciting opportunity to bring together all of my different skills and different passions in the secretariat role. EcoWeb has a lot of knowledgeable professionals in our volunteer network who are scientists or engineers, and that's critical. And we also have and need folks who understand nonprofit administration and nonprofit management. As you all mentioned earlier, we're developing our strategic plan for the future, and we're starting to bring EcoWeb into this next phase, this phase of a huge amount of growth that, as Danielle talked about, really requires a strong foundation. It requires committed people and documented procedures. So many folks at EcoWeb have already been working on that to make that possible. And I was just thrilled to join and become part of the team.
Yeah. Well, anyone who's down to get deep in policy and build that strong foundation with us and do the hard work, sifting through all of the knowledge out there and on how you do this is really welcome here at EcoWeb. You've been doing that with our letters of interest. A lot of people don't know that Ecologists Without Borders has open call for submission of letters of interest for projects. You've been helping us to streamline that process because, we really don't want to make it difficult for people to ask for help. Could you, and you've made some great videos about that, which will be on our website soon. Could you, just backing up, why submit a letter of interest to EcoWeb?
Yeah. Well, EcoWeb is uniquely positioned to provide really accessible, flexible, impactful support to these community projects across the globe. So if someone has an idea for a project that would benefit the earth, wildlife, the people in their community, and they just need a bit of extra support to get it launched and help make that project sustainable, we are there for them as a really powerful resource. Even though we don't provide direct funding, we do provide things like consultation, fundraising support, research, training, project design, project management, direct volunteer support, whether that's in person or virtual. So that can make the difference between that community project idea never getting off the ground versus it growing into a strong, long-term, successful project.
Yeah, we give what we can, and then that's our talent, our time. So who can submit a project idea then? If this is something that could be helpful, like what kind of people are eligible to submit for the LOI?
Yeah, it really varies. So we've seen previous projects come from professional environmental consulting firms, local NGOs, students or professors pursuing research, activists, Peace Corps volunteers, you name it. In general, these are folks who are trying to figure out how to realize change on that community scale, and they really care about that. So we welcome proposals from both independent volunteers and other organizations, though ultimately each project maker needs to be supported by a host organization directly related to that project so that the host can be the one to receive our volunteers and services and be responsible for the project activities.
That's right. Yeah, you need that community support. Otherwise, the project isn't going to go anywhere. So, can you tell us a bit about basic consultation versus a full LOI? Like if I just have an idea, um, versus if I'm already doing a project, like how do those match up?
Yeah, that's part of the flexibility of our process. So if the first option to submit a request for a basic consultation is for those project makers who have an idea, it's not fully established or fully formed yet. So they're still in the early stages. They don't have a focused set of goals or tasks or volunteer needs. Maybe they don't have that community support yet that we talked about. And it may be that that basic consultation with us is all they need to get to the next step. Or it may just prepare them to build out some of those more details so that they can then go on to submit a full letter of interest. So the LOI option would be for projects who are already established or active, already know their upcoming year of project activities. And that's a longer part of the process where we can really understand what their top needs are and how we can help provide that support.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's all the time we have, but I just want to tell anyone who's listening to this that you can go on our website and get this information. You can see Lindy's great videos up on the site very soon, and you might want to think about if there is a project idea that you've had floating out there that you've heard of, or maybe an organization that you met while you were on your travels or while you were out doing your work in other countries and even in the United States potentially, where if there's really an unmet need there. So that's great. Thank you so much, Lindy. And I will talk to you real soon at our next Secretariat meeting.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, take care. Uh, Lindy will be sticking around as well for any questions. If anyone has a question for Lindy about Secretariat, volunteering, policy, or projects, just let us know. So before we move on to the Q&A, we have our last speaker, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. Becky Mustin.
Hi there. Thanks, Trevor, for bringing us all together today, and thanks for inviting me. I'm Becky Mustin, and I'm the Development Director at EcoWeb. I was brought in as a result of that fantastic grant that was applied for from the Paul M. Angle Family Foundation. And I've been working half-time with EcoWeb since April. And it's been a really exciting and eye-opening period of time because the organisation is obviously going through an extraordinary period of change and growth. And for me, as a professional fundraiser and development professional, it's been exciting to see how much EcoWeb has been able to achieve, as you've heard already today, through passion power. So it's a really important time now as the organisation is able to really focus on bringing in some money so that we can start to make some even bigger and more fantastical changes. So as we're putting this phase of change into action, we're looking to raise money so that we can take on more projects and unlock more of our valuable volunteer expertise. And obviously fundraising is a key part of that, along with the strategic planning and the project planning side of things. So I've been working over the last 3 months on putting together a strategic fundraising and development plan. And that's been looking at all the different ways that we can raise money for the organisation. And that includes partnering with corporations, looking at grant-making foundations, and also a key part of that is how we can raise our profile and attract more individual donors. One of the first big moves that we've done is to revamp the EcoWeb website, and we wanted to make it more fundraising focus. And I'm pleased to say that that actually went live last night. And we wanted to push that through so that you, our valuable volunteers, would be the first to see it. There may well be some bumps over the next few weeks as we iron things out, but I think you'll agree that it tells our story much better. And more importantly, it also shows organisations and individuals how they can support us. So I hope that after this webinar, you'll be able to go to the website and have a look at it and have a look around, and keep us posted on how you think it's looking. If you think we need to add some more exciting stories about what we're doing, we're always open to suggestions. Obviously, you, our volunteers, are the heart and soul of the organisation, and it's your passion and expertise that drive us forward every day. So I'd really like to use this opportunity to ask if you will help us push our fundraising efforts to the next level. And that's really by helping us spread the word about our work and amplifying our work to your networks. So I thought I would just list a few ways that you could help us. The first and most important one is to tell your friends and family about the volunteer work that you have signed up to do and that you are doing with EcoWeb. Ask them to take a look at our website and to sign up to our mailing list on the website. We promise that we're not going to spam them, but building this list is incredibly valuable for us to help educate people about our work and have a pool of people who are interested in what we're doing that we can go to for donations. Another important thing you can do is follow us on social media and share our posts. You'd be amazed at how much impact a simple share can have, especially if you mention in there that you volunteer with us. If you're doing something amazing like running a marathon or climbing a mountain or riding your bike from here to there, please remember that you can perhaps gain sponsorship and include EcoWeb as a beneficiary for that. So please think of us if you're doing that kind of thing. And if you're up for it, you can even do a talk at your local Rotary Club. That's a great way to spread the word about our work and help us raise donations. And the final one I'll mention today is if your employer, if you have an employer that you think that there might be some synergy who might be able to help us with corporate partnerships, we would love to hear from you. You heard earlier from Stu that we're working with an organisation called Power Engineers who are working with us in Kibera in Nairobi, who are providing both funding and pro bono work to help push that project forward. So those are the kind of relationships we're looking for. And one really great way for us to get involved with organisations like that is through our relationships with our volunteers. So if any of you out there have an organisation you think might work for a corporate partnership, I would love to hear from you. I won't ask you to remember all of these ideas that I've been throwing out. I promise that I'll be in touch over the coming weeks and months. But as I say, the key to our fundraising success is going to be exploring all the possible funding avenues. It's going to be a team effort. But with all the amazing people that we have on board, and as I say, I'm always quite astounded by the passion in the organisation. I know that we can really achieve great things. So before I wrap up, I'd just like to say I'd love to hear from you if you have any ideas for how we can raise funds. If you've got any suggestions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. So whether you need to, whether you want to discuss an idea, or if you're going to do a fundraising event, or if you just want to have a chat, I would love to hear from you. Thank you. Thanks, Trevor.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much to you, Becky. Yeah, you will be hearing from Becky. Keep your ears and email inbox open for that. She's going to be discussing, sharing with you what's going on, as well as encouraging people to spread the message more widely and help us figure this out together on how we can build this organization sustainably for many years to come. So that has been a wrap for all of our speakers. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to the audience for participating in this very first EcoWeb all-volunteer webinar, uniting volunteers around the world. This will not be the last word, though. We are planning other webinars in the future. We are going to be discussing with our team what you would like to see, maybe bringing in some guest scientists and having more of a professional science talks, maybe inviting some of our project managers on to share the latest about their project, as we heard from Stu and the Nairobi Reservoir Project, which was really interesting to hear. And I can't wait to see the results from the first power engineer field trip down there, which is going to be happening very soon in the coming weeks. So now we're going to do our Q&A, and I'm going to stop sharing the slides. Haven't done this before, but I see in the top there's a Q&A button. You can write in some questions. We can start the conversation, and you can create a post, ask us anything you like about, maybe you want to speak to ask something to one of the speakers individually, or just a general question. And while you're formulating your questions, I know we can talk about a couple of the pre-registration questions that we got about volunteering from you, because we sent out a survey. So Lindy's going to sort of summarize that really quick. Maybe, Lindy, if you could just ask me directly about our volunteering, and I can answer any questions because I think you would maybe know what some of the volunteers might want to ask.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, suppose people are a little bit, hovering in the background in our network, and they want to do more, they want to support, but they're not sure how to dive in and get started. What's the best way for them to do that and to start, as you talked about, taking that self-starter initiation so that they can start to do more for us?
Okay, great. So we have our current openings listed on the website, and some of those are pretty much on a rolling basis, like our committees, projects committee, fundraising committee, communications and marketing committee, and more. So that committee work is often where a lot of our volunteers start, by joining our committees. We also have project-related volunteer positions that are coming up occasionally. When a project host comes to us, usually they have a specific need, like I need this GIS analysis, we need help fundraising. Could you find us a volunteer that could help us write grant applications? And generally, especially if you're someone who wants to support a project, and the best way often to get started is fundraising. I mean, projects need help getting the resources to buy the material support. EcoWeb can provide a lot of the technical and logistical support, but if you want to, maybe you're trying to broaden your career in the NGO world, get a few grants under your belt, we always have a need for people who can help us research the databases and formulate answers. And it does require learning a lot about the project before you get started. Danielle, yeah, go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to add too that our needs are really diverse and not always reflected in the current openings on our website. So we do have, there's always opportunity to join a committee, and often we do have project specific or organization specific roles that we need to fill. But there's always an opportunity to contribute somewhere. So if you don't see anything on the website that's a good fit, we're always happy to have a conversation, schedule a time to meet for 20 or 30 minutes to talk about your interests and some of the things going on and where you might be able to plug in. So please don't be shy about that. We're always happy to hear from you.
Yeah. I will preempt some of the questions because I know we get questions of volunteers like, when can I go out into the field? Like, where can you send me? Danielle, I'm sure you've gotten those questions. And the honest reality is like, we can't just send people out into the field without having, there's risk analysis, there's waivers, there's fundraising that has to be done for the trip. I mean, EcoWeb is a network of volunteers just like you. So we're trying to figure this out together. How do we raise the money? How do we build systems in place where we can put more people in the field? And where we can, but we also want to respect the fact that there's a lot of skilled professionals coming from the region. Like, it's probably better to send someone from that country or from that area who knows the region well or can speak the language. And so we are going to try and prioritize regional recruitment of volunteers too. And hopefully you can look into your own communities and see where a project need might be, where even if it's in a developed country or a post-industrialized country, we did a project in Sweden, right? We had the Swedish Lakes FIP project that was just some helping a small fishing community develop a fisheries improvement project, and there was no one else there to do it except for a volunteer who was right there and saw the need, identified it, and helped get them started. And once they had the funding they needed, EcoWeb could step back and let the people do the work on their own. So that's kind of a reflection of how we work right now with volunteer opportunities. And we'd love to send more people out into the field, and we are needing people who understand that process to help us on projects committee develop the policy and methods to send more volunteers. Okay, we don't have any Q&A questions. So Lindy, go ahead.
Yeah, I just also wanted to highlight some of the great work that you're doing behind the scenes, Trevor, in case people are wondering, a project needs a lot of support with fundraising, or we need more project supervisors. If people are feeling like they're not already an expert at that or don't know how to do those things, you're creating these guides behind the scenes, like a fundraising guide and project supervisor toolkit. So there is a lot of training that's possible and a lot of resources that we're continuing to build out, so that if you're interested in getting engaged with the organization in those ways, don't feel like you're going to be left out to dry trying to figure out how to do that. You don't need to be a fundraising expert to help with us fundraising.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. Hey, Stu.
So just to kind of pile on here a little bit, and I recognize we're probably speaking a little bit to the choir if the folks in our audience are already volunteers. But for me, I mean, you've heard from Trevor and Danielle and Becky and Lindy and just the caliber of people that we have working at EcoWeb is really amazes me. And one of the benefits for me is just being able to work with a group of people like this. And I think hopefully those of you that are well engaged are finding the same. But I would say to you that you should look around your circle of friends to others that might feel and share your your values and your share with them how you found your work with EcoWeb or the opportunities that are presented for people to help out and join this group of amazing people here at EcoWeb.
All right. I really appreciate that. And I truly enjoyed getting to talk with you all today. I mean, we talk a lot, but rarely do we get to all sit together and just have this kind of more informal conversation that's not about the agenda and or the latest issue that's arose. So it was a good chat, everyone, and this is recorded, so who knows who will be watching this in the future. If you're someone who's watching this down the road many months, hopefully you can still be inspired to connect with us, and some of us will surely still be around working hard to keep this organization running and welcoming new people, and there'll be many new voices added to the EcoWeb choir very soon, or already joining as we speak. So it's been a real pleasure. My name is Trevor again, and I am the co-vice president of Ecologists Without Borders. This has been our first webinar. We will be sending you information about future events, and you can check our website, of course, for the latest and greatest information about EcoWeb. Everyone, take care, have a nice day, and we'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Trevor.